Hi everyone, I'm Vishal Krishna. I'm from BCL, and our podcast series wants to bring in some eminent people in industry, be it in finance, be it in the VC world, be it in any segment of industry. We want them to come and talk about what they've done and also how they have built systems and products that have scaled and created wealth too. I've got Mr. Hartej Singh.
Hello.
Hi, sir. And Mr. Hartej Singh, he's got a checkered career, a long career, 4-decade career, where he's built companies, sold companies. He's now part of a fund called Tolima Partners. And he's in India. He's come all the way from New Jersey. He's come here and he's talking to us at BCL. And I hope this podcast inspires you on a few things. We're going to be talking AI, the impact of AI on various industries, geopolitics, and also pick some thoughts on how he built his career, and that can inspire some of you younger lot. And by the way, you guys will learn a lot more on how to build and scale companies, and in fact, connect with us to talk to him about what the future can be if you build something that you want to scale and make money out of. So, sir, I don't know where to start. 4-decade-long career, but let's start with the flavor of the season. Let's start with AI. You built systems in the past. We've come to a stage where everybody reflects on AI as a third person. It's almost become a reality. It's real. And you're saying that there's a land grab when it comes to AI, and that is real. And everybody's got to be part of it, be it nations or individuals. Where do we stand in the AI journey today?
Oh, these are early days, and it's not going to let up. And it's going to be transformational in the same way as the internet was transformational,
Okay.
as the iPhone was transformational. And this is the third, quantum jump opportunity. And it's not going to slow down. It's just getting started. And the amount of money that's being pumped in has the same delirium as we saw in the internet era. And since it is all brand new, the people who are going to do the actual engineering, actual production of code, can be fresh. Because if you spent 20 years doing Java, then you'd have to unlearn a lot in order to learn how to do play in the new paradigm.
Right.
That helps, but you have to unlearn. So fresh people have as much of a chance as seasoned players. But fresh people require to make, while they have the advantage of speed, they have to know how to build momentum. And you build momentum if there is either push, i.e., a lot of money funding you, or this pull, where there's huge demand from someone who has a large, gas turbine that needs to be pumped with that much fuel. So similarly here, if you have a large customer, such as the police department of Bangalore, so how many calls would they be able to take? But then, can they go to ChatGPT?
Yeah.
No, because ChatGPT can't understand the particular nuanced Kannada flavor, or
The local flavor.
the local flavor, which changes every 20 kilometers. To understand that requires local LNM.
Yes.
To translate that into the question to be asked of the backend is that local language with intent. It cannot be literal translation.
And nuanced intent at that. Yes.
Nuance is in the language,
Yes.
and intent is what you infer. And then you convert that into a question, you get the response back, and then you again convert that into an answer in the same vernacular, but conveying the intent. So you never lost the thread.
Mm.
So you didn't, it's not a hot potato you're tossing over the fence
Correct.
and saying, hey, good luck. No, you have to stay with the guy, with the thread. And so you see the complexity. So ChatGPT may be a component, NVIDIA GPUs may be a component, but these LLMs have to be invented locally.
So it's no simple thing. It's an opportunity, and therefore you call it a land grab because such an early stage of
Yeah.
discovery that it's. I'm glad you say this. That
And
means-
before to finish,
Go on, please.
and each of these elements is a huge play.
Yeah.
Anybody who says that I can do the 15 dialects of Kannada
It's a king actually.
is a valuable player, because there may be another guy who has the same thing for Tamil, another was same for Malayalam. So this guy can be a different person, different company, and this guy a different company. These are all agents. So the right agent is invoked
If this is the intelligence we're
based
talking
upon
about, beautiful.
context.
Yes.
And then those agents now play with each other. I was speaking to someone who's solving a problem for a hospital. There are 105 agents. Each of them is figuring out, it's like, you're playing shuttlecock, and there's 105 guys over there. So this guy can handle a smash, and that guy can handle the left edge, and that guy can handle that, and everybody, the right guy surfaces, and that's orchestration. Now the truly smart guys will do orchestration. Because people who are developing these, quote unquote
agents.
engines abound. And there's huge opportunity here.
It's interesting. I'm glad you left it at that. For a lot of people who think, then what is the value of having people? For them, I say that the orchestration layer or the human is always important to keep teaching it these nuances.
Your job will be taken by a guy who's using AI, not by AI.
Yeah, that's true. That's really well said.
So you use, just like I suppose I want to float, I put boosters beneath my feet, jet engines. And then I go up and then I start flying my kite to do whatever I want to do. That jet engine is AI.
Yes.
But it's me using it and using all my skills as an acrobat in order to get anything done.
Yeah.
That delivers stunning value to the customer. And the customer doesn't care what you did and what AI did.
And this cuts across every industry, literally.
Every context. So that's what I like I told you, while people call me a part of a venture firm, but more than that, I am a producer.
Yeah.
I actually understand the nuance, having made companies with my, having built products and then built the company around it and then, scaled it and then sold it. So having done this multiple times, being a producer allows me to get into the redefinition. Because people might think, oh, I'm in college, I'm in computer science, it's a good college, mediocre college, indifferent.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to go ask my professor, sir, what is my task for tomorrow? And what's going to come in the exam? And if you could give me those first 10 questions, I'll be very happy.
If somebody was so generous.
And that is the be all and end all of their existence.
Yes.
The remaining time they have, they engage in this unique phenomenon in India called time pass.
That's an Indian phenomenon, isn't it? Time pass.
Now, go ahead. But you don't have to pass time. Time passes.
It's like the Pink Floyd
And
song.
what did you do? But if you have that strong, then why don't you reverse it and show me that you could? So to these college kids, I don't care whether you are in psychology or computer science
Or history.
or history, it doesn't matter. It is solving a problem and creating products to solve problems requires a holistic approach.
And it's interesting you gave away your target segment for people with ideas. You're looking for students who can think. and you need these people. And I'm glad you said.
Oh, no. Thinking is where it begins. But you got to execute.
Application.
You got to make things.
Yes.
If you don't make things, so I was lecturing at the engineering college, and I'm asking people, well, so do you know Android?
Yeah. Okay.
They said no. I said,
Seriously?
I said, why not? They say it's not part of the curriculum.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I
They
said
know-
because the curriculum is 20 years old and Android is 3 years old at that time. So Android will not become part of a curriculum forever because those guys can't eject the foundation piece that they've been paid to
Yeah.
teach you,
Yeah.
which university grants commission and the university structure says this thou shalt have to deliver this first. So they can't neglect that, so that they are supposed to build the foundation, but who's going to build the skyscraper?
Yeah.
And the skyscraper is not a multiplication of the foundation.
Yeah.
It's a whole different construct. Similarly, so I said, well, why don't you start building Android apps?
Okay.
You don't have to make an Android app to solve world hunger. But you can build an Android app that has this just bouncing thing, and
Yeah. You managing
deploy and
the
deliver.
agents. Yes.
Show me if you've done that. If an 11-year-old kid comes to me and says, hi, uncle, I say, what do you do? The guy says, one guy says, nothing. One guy says, I play video games. One guy says, I made this app. It doesn't matter what the app is. This kid is investment grade.
I agree. I understand.
So, all you guys out there, use every available moment you have, either individually or collectively, solving problems that are really where your shoe is pinching right now.
Yeah.
It may be only your shoe, but fix it. And then fix it for the other guy, and then fix it for the third, and suddenly you see there's a large, line of people waiting for you to fix their shoe.
Yeah.
You may not make money. Figuring out how to make money is something where you need the graybeards to come and do, and we will do it because. By the way, let me tell you how this works. There are two sales that will happen. You have to design your company for sale. What are you selling? The first is your product to the customer, for which the customer is willing to pay you money and saying thank you. Second, your product and your quality of service and the overall experience of dealing with you, and in the before and after state of the problem area, first was turmoil, now it's smooth as water. If there's a consistent improvement in the user experience, then you should never have to worry about being the lowest bidder.
I got it. So you valued, you put yourself beyond everyone with this application.
So you take whatever you do and then you go to a customer and then don't say, hi, I have a hammer. What kind of furniture do you want me to build?
Well, yeah, you should.
That's the wrong question.
Today.
If they say, well, I have a child, I'll sit around and watch the child roll around and then figure out, well, the dog is going to attack the child from here, so I'll make a small fence over there.
I love these vendors and these philosophical thoughts of yours. I mean, it talks about the problem in India itself, right? We need to teach these things.
And that comes from a desire to help. So you should be always looking for an opportunity to help people.
Yeah.
If there's somebody standing to, and even if you're driving a bicycle, a motorbike, there's some child or a woman standing on the left hand side wanting to cross. You stop.
Yeah.
And you try to stop the rest of the traffic and allow them to cross.
Yeah.
Now, this person wants to get ahead of them and say, come home and say, today what I did? I cut off one old woman. Like, look at me, I'm awesome. Whereas, if a guy has this desire to serve, it manifests in everything you do.
Yeah. This is interesting. This desire to help can also go help governments, because governments and AI is a question that I have. It's these kids who will build, and I hope they work with people like the graybeards to go sell to the government as well. Do you see that as an opportunity globally, or do you think that governments can be a laggard in many ways, but still be the leaders in terms of policy making when it comes to AI, and therefore you cannot do away with them?
Governments have one. I used to work for the government. I was advisor to the collector
Early
of
days,
Dantewada. No, early days I used to work with Sam Petroda,
Yeah,
but recently
the
also I was
C-Dot, right?
C-Dot. But
Yeah.
here I was working with a collector of a Bastar.
Okay.
They have one single limitation.
Mm-hmm.
It's called tenders.
Even today, yes, I know. That's
They
a very.
cannot-
Is it an Indian thing also? The
It's
tender?
absolutely Indian.
Okay.
I was getting a princely amount of 69,000 rupees a month.
Okay.
They had to do a tender. And in the interview, the collector said to me, he says, do you realize that if I'm paying you for coming 2 weekends in a month, you're earning more than me?
Absolutely.
That became my limiting factor. I said, chalo, theek hai yaar, I'll agree to 69,000.
Okay.
Now, governments necessarily have to do a tender. Now, drafting the tender, something which also I've done for the government, drafting the tender requires you to call multiple vendors of that product.
Yes.
In that space, take all it's called request for proposal. So they come and give you information. And then you now try to do a merge of this. In AI, you can't find 5 people who are doing that particular thing.
You want to explain that, because people want to understand why 5 people won't be doing the same thing.
Because everybody's approach is different. So suppose, so let's talk about Bangalore, the traffic problem.
Yeah, that's the best problem to handle now. Let's talk about that.
So Bangalore, the traffic problem is solved by installing
Smart
cameras.
yes, smart devices
on
which
top
they
of-
already have. Yeah.
Now that tender is very easy to create and sell because people make cameras and have been making cameras for a long time.
And the cost is known. Yes.
So now go ahead, knock yourself out. I'll take the lowest guy and get the job done. Now, so you captured that information, but now somebody comes along and says, you know what? I'm going to use that camera to capture a speeding car. That may be speeding because I'm sitting up there. I have line of sight
Mm-hmm.
for a good 1 kilometer.
Yes.
So the car is speeding for any stretch doing that. I should be able to catch it.
Correct.
And then I should be able to scan their number plate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that number plate is not as per the IND standard,
True.
that's a broken law.
Yeah.
So now we start using AI that you say, well, that's a blue Toyota, whatever model we have in India, or Maruti, and then take a picture of the person's face.
Yeah, it's not got to that level of sophistication. Yeah.
No, it's the same camera. It is a much more sophisticated use
Yeah.
of that particular thing. Now, anybody who walks into the police department of Bangalore says, I can do this for you. Even if he says, I'll do it for you free of charge, they can't take it.
The tender.
Because what will happen is something will happen. I'm still outside my scope.
I know.
Therefore, I urge people to forget about government as a potential customer for your services. Remember, I made a police department system.
Yeah, in the US. Yeah.
I sold it to governments, but because those are small governments which had a very large problem that they needed solved. So let me tell you the low-hanging fruit. The low-hanging fruit is where the quality of service being experienced by that company's customers That company's internal people will have phenomenal
Skills, yes.
no, resources at them
Resources,
to
absolutely.
improve their quality of life, etc. But the customers of that company, their experience can be pathetic. Simple example: when you try to call a doctor's office or an insurance company
Yeah.
to renew your
Health plan, yeah.
health plan, if you're a premium health plan, they'll pick up the phone the first ring. But if a cheap health plan, it's going to take 45 minutes before they get on to you.
Yes. And you're waiting with that
And you're
robotic
waiting.
call.
So now you are really mad at the government. So, or whoever's the provider. Now, those people, if they realize that my people are really upset with me, and along comes somebody who says, well, I can solve this problem by reducing that wait time from this much to this much. Now, that is easy.
That's the low-hanging fruit, yeah.
Here's low-hanging fruit. And here, by the way, in AI, your best friend is the fact that everything is metered. Who said that? OpenAI. This okay. Buy a million tokens, and then every whatever metering triggering event, we will start consuming your. They've got this princely plan, yet they're always making losses. But they've introduced the concept of metering. So if you were to go to the company and say, well, for every patient that I handle, we'll charge you so much. So it's not as if they're giving you a massive outlay up front and putting massive ERP. And if they put out if they send out this requirement to the Infosys and the Andersons of the world, I respect those companies, but they've mastered the art of dealing with very large. But I'm talking about mid-size. Yes. This is a space I understand well. They are the neglected masses, truly. So for them, if they were to tell Anderson or Infosys, okay, well, I'll pay you on a per transaction basis or pay you for the product, then you can beat them at their game simply through efficiencies. So AI, as I was telling you, there are two sales. One is finding a customer and then trying to serve the customer and finding something that suddenly ignites. That is called product market fit.
Absolutely.
You discover that, and then it's time to scale. That's when people like me step in.
Come in. And that's where when you've already sold to a customer, it's easy to convince VCs.
And finding those customers is something that we can really help with.
That also, yes.
Because customers give orders to you because they trust you. Because once a customer gives me an order and the guy, my first provider, falls away, I'm going to move heaven and earth to find a second provider, but not let the guy down.
Fantastic. Yes.
Because my reputation matters more than if I have to make a loss. Doesn't matter. So I will be able to help them find the first customer.
This is very interesting because on one level we need the government for the policy making and doing the optics, but they're not your customer. Your customer is these mid-sized companies that want to use AI efficiently, and you can build for them. And that's why you come in, or any VC firm comes in and it enables them to get customers. But firstly, they have to know that product market fit is very important.
No. Product market fit, they may not be able to know. All we need is raw talent. Like, I have built this.
Okay.
And I have built this. Okay. And I have built this. And they may be completely irrelevant.
Okay.
Like a kid who says, well, I made a game that does, car racing, and then here's a game that bounces colors. So it's okay. The guy's smart.
Okay.
So the guy's smart and he's a builder. And best part, you can build this stuff in your garage. We're back to the 3 people in a garage working out of a cardboard box.
Just like a garage band.
We are back to that same thing in AI. And we solve the issue. It may be inefficiently solved, but increasing the efficiency is easy. It may be barking up the wrong tree, but pulling a dog back and making him bark the right tree.
Possible.
Easy.
Yes.
Easy for people who've got the trust of the customer that, well, I'm going to give you a chance.
Okay.
This is the one. Now, when you're looking for people who are going to invest in you, these people are going to simply think, let's skate down go down the chute, 3 years down the road, into whose arms will this company be, received with,
Open arms.
and how much would that company pay? So chances are that the investor, the venture capitalist, knows the other investor because some people play at their first check, seed, and then various stages. Then they have mezzanine. Mezzanine are people who buy these companies after they've achieved certain volume, certain standing. And then for those guys, that is the exit. So there are two sales happening. The first guy will cut you a check, will do it because of passion
Got it.
and because you are bright guys who deserve the periscope above your traffic, telling you there's a traffic jam ahead, take a right.
Yeah.
Value delivered. So this you do for enough people and start introducing them to customers, and then these guys deliver, and you will learn a lot more about people than any PowerPoint could teach you. PowerPoints are no longer
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. You no longer
no
look at PowerPoints.
PowerPoints anymore. Please, it's all show me. Don't tell me. Show me what you got. It doesn't matter if it's what I need,
Yeah.
because this is a very small leap. The ability to make this come real and bring it alive is the magic that I want to harness.
Okay, got it. So I want to ask you, again on the topic of AI, do you see collaborations between India and the US in a big way? Forget the government levels, but also in terms of what's seen in the US in terms of AI? I mean, what's the reality there and how forward they've been? I know OpenAI gets a lot of PR because everybody's using ChatGPT. A lot of the American companies also come and tell me that there's a blanket, not a ban, but there's a code almost saying that, okay, we won't use ChatGPT because they want their LLMs trained in a customized data center and rather than going to ChatGPT, which is probably in the cloud, right? So where is the AI situation in the US at this point of time, generally with startups, and what can India learn from that and probably build an ecosystem of its own?
So, in the US, you have the mega players, the mega plays. And those people, like ChatGPT, Microsoft, Google, they are in this war among themselves.
Yes.
Elon Musk's Grok, and with NVIDIA continuously pumping out. NVIDIA has taken over what Intel used to be.
Yes.
So X times more for same amount of money and less power. That power is a very, very big problem. So those people are engaged in that race. Government of India brought Jensen over, the NVIDIA guy, and he agreed to give India 10,000 GPUs. But not give. I'll allow you to buy. Like, that's a nice monopoly. So India is planning on, because they've got brilliant people like Nandan Lekhani and so on, and he's very heavily interested in LLMs using local language, large language models. So which language? So that is a government play where government is going to create these massive GPU centers for AI people, AI players in the AI space to come in and train the models.
Got it.
You see, the massive GPU utilization is in training the model.
It's almost like crowdsourced learning. I mean, using this infrastructure to crowdsource learning for these private companies as well, because there's anyway massive amounts of data available.
Yeah, keeping the data constant.
Yes.
And allowing people to make different inferences. So getting the data and creating the GPU infrastructure is something government is already doing. And therefore, people in India have the benefit, like you go to the big trend recently of incubators.
Correct.
There's an ultimate AI incubator that come tap the infrastructure, and then it will be not as costly as what your other options are.
Yeah,
that's a very elegant.
Which is the difference between India and the US at this point in time.
And as far as core competence is concerned, of all the products that Tolima has ever brought to market, the market was US or global, but the software was always developed in India.
Okay, good.
So people in India should not um, let go of that particular
Skill.
skill.
Yes.
And but so while we were talking about college students who I sincerely believe should spend a lot more time building product, building in the AI space. I think that the best AI guys are absorbed by some company, but that some company is utilizing again
Minimal.
a
Very
fraction of their spectrum.
They've gotten used to salary.
So the spectrum that they want to utilize is, well, you are into particular, marketing. Therefore, let's use it for only marketing.
Specialization, hyper specialization. Yes.
So which those guys do well, but they still have that remaining spectrum which is unutilized. All of these people should start the same mentality of helping. So, like I stopped motorbike. I don't dare drive a motorbike in India, but I stopped the motorbike just to let the woman cross. Similarly, they should nurture AI talent in the form of teams of 2 or 3 max. And these teams of 2 or 3, in order to build a company, don't need to hire any CXO. I saw something really crazy that people were leaving Hindustan Lever to join a startup.
Yes, that's happening in India. Yes.
And they were earning salaries in the crores in Hindustan Lever. So the startup pays 30% more than that.
That's because of funding. Yes. For a lot of these consumer.
That's all wrong. They should go back to de minimis, A, because they don't need it,
Yeah.
and B, because their equity is.
Because equity is much more valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm going to help build to that and I'm going to partake of.
And
And
they're offsetting the risk, and that's the problem.
for me, it's so strange for founders to say, well, I want to hold 89% of the stock on the day I do my IPO. Really?
God, yeah.
Because Mark Zuckerberg did it, therefore you think you can or you should? No. Be lavish with the thing that you have an abundance of, namely equity. So I would say to a guy who's earning 2 crores that, "Lenny, come to me, I'm going to pay you 12 lakhs.
Yeah, and I'll give you equity. I'll dilute equity. That's
And
fair deal.
instead of the entire 2 crore delta, I'll give you 4 crores of equity.
Yes, absolutely.
And 4 crores today, you multiply by 10 now.
Yeah.
And you help make it 40 crores.
Why do you think we lack that thinking when it comes to technologies like these? Especially AI offers you that delta. Is it inherent culturally? Because you see, Intels and everything got built out over time in the valley. They didn't get built in 3 years. It was an ecosystem created by the Drapers and all of them. It really did take time, even in the Boston, the pharma companies and all the investments that went into the early drug manufacturing or the early inventions, really were patient. And for some reason, we're living in a very different world. It's also time to Wall Street in a way, like we discussed earlier. That's not going to change, is it?
It has.
It has?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You want to give reasons?
One is instant gratification is the wrong approach to making decisions. However, AI moves like a torpedo. You're riding a torpedo. So you're going to hit the target in seconds, not days. So riding it at that speed is a key skill.
Yeah.
And then hitting the target and then recovering from any consequences and making it land, sticking the landing as you call it. And you become really good at it and you go real fast.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is scaring everybody because of the speed with which he scales. So, trust me, if you should be looking at once you've achieved spontaneous combustion, where customers love you and they tell others about you, and then they say, how do I get to the head of the queue? That's called spontaneous combustion. From that point of spontaneous combustion, you're talking 1,000 days.
That's 2 years, close to 2.5 years.
3 years odd. You're looking at 3 years to exit. That's huge. And if you're going to do an exit in 3 years, you're going to do it all over again, okay?
Yeah.
So don't worry about being 85% of that deal, because it could be a small deal and you'll still close on the deal because you took it.
Very interesting. Very interesting thoughts.
So if I go into a deal and I take a smaller amount of money and I gave away so much equity on the way here that I'm holding only, I don't know, 25%. Oh, I didn't make out with the millions that, I'll come keep be on the cover of magazines. No, that's not where it's at. Where it's at is you're going to go back, you're going to chill for a bit, and 6 months later, you're going to be doing it all over again.
Yeah, correct. That's the mindset that you need to have.
And after a point, people say, all I want to do is double my money. Well, in that case, go and buy land in north of Bangalore. Okay, so I meet people, I play golf. So if I say, guys, if I meet someone who says, well, I just sold my company because it's a telecom play, I have such an animated discussion. Or the guy says, I'm a real estate guy.
Now,
Those 4.5 hours are a little difficult to pass, man.
yeah.
I'm telling you.
Especially if being 18 it's tough.
So, you will do it not because you'll double your money. You'll do it because, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Let's make some value and let's convert some people's lives and let's do some amazing things.
You gotta change the mindset.
It is that joy of creation that was the identifier of that entrepreneur in the first place. The 11-year-old who's trying to show you stuff.
Yeah.
That guy, even when he's 45, will still be doing the same thing.
I want to do a quick segue into a few things because this is at the heart of it is the mindset that you're talking about that's got to change. I want to segue. I want to talk about why is everybody now in the chip and data center war. Okay, I want to get to that in a bit. But the segue is you started your life out of indoor, correct? You went to Ahmedabad IIM-A and then you went to MIT and after that you advised government, CDOT, and then you worked at a steel company before starting your own ventures, selling them, all that. India has changed, but the mindset has still, like you said, it's very different on that torpedo speed that you talk about, right? We were used to a certain rate of growth in the 70s, 80s. I can talk because I'm an 80s child. I've seen a bit of it. How have things changed and why that mindset though hasn't changed? There is mindset to say, okay, I learn money and then go into real estate and just say, okay, I'm done with it. The actual thought process for the new generation should be, I built something, well, sell it, and then move on to the next problem. We're talking problem solving here, right? Have we got to that situation compared to what you saw? Because you did what you said it. You want to build things, solve things, and move on to another problem. That's what you need, right? Was that always the case, or has there been a mind shift in India according to you? Or what's happened?
The single problem in India is people don't know how to handle plenty.
That's true. Because we were told to be conservative all the time.
So if your father has built you a business, and you have a house, and your mother arranged your wife,
which is true in most cases.
You never learn how to even take a girl out on a date. So those guys, then all they do is figure out who can drink more in an evening. Those guys, forget about it. They should not be a part of the equation.
Yes.
If such a guy wants to invest in you, don't take his money.
You're making me laugh. And there's many such guys I know. So yeah, go on.
Please don't take their money because they're going to be a nightmare.
They're going to come back and bite you in 3 months.
And so stay clear of them. Become a builder. It doesn't matter.
By the way, guys, when he says builder in India, don't think when he says you have to become a real estate builder. It's an American parlance. Here we call you developers, okay? And by the way, you're not developing land, you're developing software, you're building software or an LLM model. Again, I wanted to call it out earlier, but yes.
Thank you very much. I shall continue with that particular thread as follows. Please don't be a developer. Build product.
Yes.
And what's a product? A product is like when you come home and mom serves the meal, everything is there.
Yes, the ingredients, the good ones.
Everything is all cooked to your perfection. Your perfection is shaped by him, by her in the first place. It's all there.
So that's the mindset they need now.
Be the mother serving the child
Yeah.
without the child able to describe what he wants, but
Perfection.
expressing absolute happiness
Joy. Yeah.
at having been served. That is a builder, someone who makes products and build it with the bare hands. If you are a manager who will get anything others to do stuff, please don't go looking for venture capital. You'll never get it because you are replaceable. And those people, 1/50th of their bandwidth will serve that particular function for that particular company for the next 2 years.
Fantastic, listen.
Okay.
I mean, you couldn't just, I mean, I couldn't have heard it better.
Please don't be a
Beautiful.
manager of others and think you want to be a startup. Second, please don't be a developer. Build product. Third, build product with your bare hands. Go from seeing a problem, visualizing it, developing it, and then taking it all the way through and delivering a product which is half done, half baked, everything half. It's called quick and dirty. And saying, what do you think?
I think that's a good thought process.
That is, if you do that and you make a habit of it, you are priceless. And there are others who all you have to do is lock 2 or 3 people together and they have, please, another third. Do not duplicate yourself by bringing people who are like you.
Challenge yourself.
Work 50% harder. Go without. Do it yourself. Okay? And the mindset is not one of, you're not pursuing wealth.
Sure.
If you are just as happy riding any car, it doesn't matter. But if you think it's very important to have a Porsche 911 as the be all and end all of your life, then yeah, you should be able to spend your money after you sold your first company.
Yeah, got it.
You can't take equity and then you can't take salary and
Equity.
then take if you have equity, you can't go to the Porsche dealer, but take my equity. So you convert that into cash and then come back. And that's the right way to do it. So fine, if you want to do that, that's fine. But please look at problems that others are facing as an opportunity to help them and build the tools or use the tools to solve it. Because let me tell you, the one thing that I love hearing problems that I've heard of, but solutions that I've never heard of. Only then you're unique. Please don't say, well, because he did it, I'm going to copy it. Anybody is an investor in that space had better know that. And you know how we know that? Because the customer is approached by all potential vendors. He has tried them all.
Does it?
And he will tell us the entire landscape. We don't spend money in market research.
Yeah.
You got a question?
Does it hurt you that a lot of the venture funding in India is American and obviously the replication is a lot more than originality in terms of ideation of the product or building the product, because we're a large consumer country. And if you see in e-commerce, I understand. I mean, we'd had to copy the models, right? But in terms of the customer-centric approach, the B2B or business to business that you're talking, we can still be unique, I'm sure.
You see, all businesses deal with the customer at the end of it.
Yeah.
It's your choice whether you want to go deal with those customers directly or indirectly by dealing with the business. So if I was to make a product to support the drivers for Zomato. Now remember, those guys, people are driving and they're looking at the screen. I understand that because you got to look at Google Maps.
Yeah, yes. Correct.
But if the driver has a problem, he has to pull over to the side and call headquarters.
Yes.
What if I were to make an AI solution for Zomato drivers to be able to get answers
Yeah.
to their particular issue? भाई my यहाँ पे the road is broken. What should I do?
Intelligence, yes.
You know,
It
or
improves their productivity, quality of life. Yes.
so why not have AI for Zomato? No, limitation. Oh, those guys will speak nuanced languages ranging from Bihari to Kannada to Malayali. So now that's a problem we're solving. So yes, that is. What kind of is that B2C? I don't think so because your customer is Zomato.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
Zomato is cutting you a check.
And coming back, thinking so important on these things. You need to be aware of the nuances and the intent of the application, right?
Because remember, getting money from customers in India is impossible. Okay?
Yeah, that's the problem I face.
So you're getting money from them indirectly. So if I take money from Zomato, he's taking it from the revenue he's making from the customer. So customer is paying for it eventually, but they don't realize it. If they realize it, they'll hate you for it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad. Firstly, guys, is Mr. Hart. He's also called Hart in the US. Mr. Hartej is right. You don't be mollycoddled like how our mothers mollycoddled us, but you just sit by and say that, look, I'm set. If you want to do something, you better take risks. You better know the intent, the nuances of building something.
And you'll be hungry.
And you should be hungry, yeah. Why is that? I mean, I'm talking about it. I mean, 70s, 80s, 90s kids, we were all very good. I mean, in a way, the IT services revolution changed India in many ways. Do you think salaried approach of being safe? India has always been safe. And
Yes.
hence, bit moderate to risk taking and also averse,
So I would ask this question of my student.
Okay.
I said, so how many of you
Mm-hmm.
would like to work in the post office?
Such a funniest question. I mean, it's a government job. Safe. I get my tea. So
You know where to sit.
Yeah, I know where
and
to
you
sit,
know how to count
sign.
the stamps.
yes.
And while there's always a risk that you'll get replaced, but in government, you won't get replaced.
Yeah.
So once that risk is gone, I make the sale. Like, please buy this. I say, how many people would like to get a job in the post office? So some hands go up.
Yeah.
And when it comes down, I say, now look at me. How long do you think I would last in the post office? And the answer goes between 1 day and 5 days. That's the range. Because
Correct.
I would not be able to survive in a post office.
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. Being the person or the kind of person that you are.
Kind of person you are. You're hungry and, you want to do things. Like,
Yes. So go do things. That's what
go
they
do
say,
things. Like for example, when you gave me this opportunity, by the way, thank you very much for
Yeah.
having
Thank
me.
you, sir.
And while we spoke about my entire back up to this point offline, we started at helping the viewers.
Yeah, that's the intention that we spoke about.
Because when the viewer is listening to this, the single question is, what's in it for me? Like, so if I want to hear a greatness, fine. But your greatness should be only to establish credentials that I should listen to you and no more. Because you guys haven't come to hear me rant about my
Yeah.
greatness.
Accolades, yeah.
But so in this, isn't that an opportunity? Like I could have come here and drone on and on about I did this and I did that. And you think you're reading my autobiography, But that's not what you have bargained for. This is the BCL
Yeah.
thing. We come for business.
Yeah.
So we're talking about business, and whose business? Your business.
No, that's
So-
interesting.
And that's the mindset that I bring to this, and I do this all the time.
No, I want to talk to. I mean, kids also should be cognizant of the fact that today every company that I talk to that they own data centers. Many of the large ones, they own these GPUs. I mean, NVIDIA is by far the leader. But I'm saying the GPU war, the data center war, the software as a service, agentic war. Things have changed so rapidly. But I was with a company that they were my client, and they were helping health plans reduce the cost of compliance. Okay, and they say that their product is worth more today because they own their data centers. It's so interesting. because everyone's building software in the world, and they are saying agents will replace these software as a service businesses or software apps, right? So, what are your thoughts on this war of building their own chips today that's happening in every country, by the way? And then Trump also talks about, I'm going to get these Taiwanese companies to come and build factories in the US, and these chips will be originating in the US. That's the government side of things. So where is the chip war, the data center war? Why should the kids be cognizant of it? Because in the end, it's about energy sustainability also. Can you have a chip that can power your applications faster, better? Then you have the AI on top of that with the best LLMs. So where is this? This is also a geopolitical war in a sense happening, but it's also the war of companies. It's like almost like the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 17th century, where the Spaniards, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the British, right, and the Germans after that, they all had different land grabs in terms of the sea routes, right? And ultimately, the British came out the winners, and America also in because of its industrial scale at the time, and Germany. Where do you see this journey go ahead? I'm starting with the war to chip, the war to LLM, and the war to own these data centers.
Now, the number of components that are required for a single AI response start with what? NVIDIA.
Correct. Today, it's all NVIDIA there. Yeah.
But do you know that NVIDIA has no factories? Why not? Because they think that their energy is better focused on design
Yes. IP.
and the intellectual property and the moats than in manufacturing. So they give the entire manufacturing to TSMC.
Taiwan.
That's what maybe. TSMC is coming to the United States and manufacturing the most advanced chips there.
Yes.
But why did NVIDIA not set up its own factory? They could. It's a function of core competence. Now, why do neither of these? Why have neither of these developed LLMs? That was ChatGPT,
Yeah.
and Microsoft wanted an edge into it, so they put in the tens of billions. But ChatGPT uses an NVIDIA chip made by TSMC to develop only LLMs now.
Yeah. Complementary.
So even if you are the biggest players in the world, you do one thing well, and you let the others do what they do well, and together you form a value chain.
No, there's an ecosystem built around it. Yeah.
So in India, you should not be thinking about competing with NVIDIA. I don't know. That's not the space that I understand.
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
I should not be thinking of competing with TSMC. Let the Tatas of the
So
world
well said, yeah.
design and decide that and invest into it. And ChatGPT, yes, it did make the ALLM, but it showed the way.
Yeah. It's just showed the way. Beautifully said. Because now others can pick up from there.
Now you can hack it. So that's what you do. You know, we are when I was listening the things we are, the one thing you must be the proudest of is our desi word of jugaad.
True.
Jugaad in English is known as hacker.
Okay.
Facebook's address is one hacker way. So hacking is a very respected thing. So you hack the LLMs. How do you hack LLMs? You say, well, LLMs are going bigger and bigger. Right now they have 37 billion points. Why not reduce it to smaller and smaller so that I now talk about
Interesting. Small language models.
go for small language, because I don't want to solve make art in the same breath as poetry, in the same breath as engineering design. That's not what I want to do. I want to serve doctors.
Yeah, that's yeah, absolutely. That can be a small language problem. Yes.
So what I do and what I did and I continuously do. Last night I got a inquiry from a guy, and he says I have a requirement for this. I said, well, simple. Could you please send me 5 recordings of conversations that were had yesterday. Whatever you're asking me to do by machines, send it to me as having been done by humans. And promptly, he sent me 5 recordings. And based upon that, I was able to very clearly figure out what is the nature of this beast, the nature of the problem, how much time it will take, how much it will cost. And because what we're going to do is, we're going to build a small language model.
Yeah.
So we'll ask the same, your top 15 frequently asked questions. Tell me what are the 5 variations of the answers to it. So if I say, when do you want an interview, an appointment? He says, I don't care. Now, I don't care means anytime is fine.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not being rude.
But he's not being rude.
Yeah, correct.
So, but that is how your customers speak in your context. So why should I go into this entire universe of all written word? And by the way, that is polluted, because you know why? AI is creating some of the content now.
Yeah.
And also that's also being read because they can't differentiate. So now AI is trying to figure out, be trained by AI's task, which is sets you up for hallucination beyond belief.
Yeah.
Whereas here I'm going to take real conversations and build my own small language model.
I understand.
That's a hack.
The CTO, I mean, I think the current day CEO should be really up in the game. I mean, there's that Wall Street thing that they have to make happy and yet take bets. Trump called it out. He said, he was influencing Intel, and he was very angry that everything moved out, and he was angry. And he said, they needed to figure out, he was blaming many of the CEOs of many companies, basically saying everyone's building for Wall Street rather than, for local, having anything, for him it's the jobs, number one, but it's also the talent to influence these things, right? That we can use our own resources to serve local needs. It's funny, we're talking about a globalized world. You grew up in a globalized world, truly globalized. It was a great experiment. Suddenly you see, is it collapsing? Or is AI redifferentiating these engagements, these relationships today? We are in the middle of tariff wars as we speak.
You see,
Will there be tariffs on AI? No, just joking.
no, that's a fair question. Possibly, India might be tariffed by the US for software export of product, because it'll be reciprocal to what we impose on the import of Microsoft Windows.
Yeah. Or an equivalent. Yes.
That's fine.
Yes.
But in software, fortunately, you can set any price you want. And if the customer is willing to pay it, that's the price.
Yes.
So nothing called cost plus. You have to be cost plus, but otherwise you have to cover your cost. But so you got to realize that AI is, especially in finishing the workflow, invokes agents. Each agent does one thing. So I was talking to a very, very sharp AI developer, and he says that we have this deployed in a hospital, and we have 105 agents that are answering a question at the very stage. So
This is in India or US?
no, this customer is in the Middle East,
Okay.
and it's a single hospital that is at the same time supplying allopathic, Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, homeopathy, and Ayurveda. All of these
And in the Middle East.
in the Middle East. So the customer walks in, AI decides
The integrated plan.
which medicines to be utilized.
Very nice. Very nice. That's path-breaking. That's path-breaking.
All these agents. So when a customer asks the question, all these agents go, and they give an answer.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
And now the orchestration layer has to figure out which one is the right way to go. So what does it do? It comes back with a question. It doesn't give the answer. It's got all the answers. That asks a clarifying question. Now that's brilliant.
It is brilliant. I mean,
Now it comes with the answer, and then these guys do, and then they start doing the cross verification. Now, okay, having selected one path, now let's get smart about it. How does this interfere or expand or be indifferent to his past medical history and the past medicines that he has consumed, and what's the latest literature? Well, that's AI.
wow, the world is different now. It's very different.
So, isn't that exciting?
It is exciting. I think on many levels, I mean, I'm glad. So these wars will always exist, wars of narratives. Your view on the narratives that, the world, I mean, you've seen many narratives over the last, you probably you probably went to school when the oil wars were happening.
Yes.
The embargoes were happening in the 70s, and then the 80s Wall Street growth, and the 90s real globalization under Clinton, and all that argument that one world, one currency happened, right? And we went through in the 2001 dot-com boom, dot-com bust, pardon me, then the recession, and then now wherever we stand. And you also say that we also talk wars quickly. You're saying there's no reason to continue a prolonged war because it's expensive to wage a war now. That's there. So do you think AI will help us figure out the worst of ourselves and probably prepare ourselves to get better over time? Or is it going to be a very unequal world?
AI is going to transform war. How? You can launch maybe 8 planes, but you can launch 10,000 drones.
Yeah.
People can shoot down 8 planes.
And not 10,000 drones.
They cannot shoot down 10,000 drones.
Smaller, more efficient. Yeah.
And these drones are going to be talking to each other using AI.
It's like
You're not going to be sitting over here and saying, do this, do this. And how big are the drones going to be? The drones are going to be as small as a fly or as large as a plane. And when the plane gets over the enemy territory, it launches all the 1,000 drones.
It's not your science fiction movie. It's real. Yeah.
And those are now talking to each other. Each of them is an agent or multiple agents. To fly a drone, you've got to have a different agent that's going to decipher the terrain. You're going to have a different agent that's going to give navigation. Wow. You're going to have a different agent that's going to do communication.
But the cost of that is going to be prohibitive, very expensive, and hence.
No. Hello, stop. In AI, the cost is GPU.
Yes, again, yes.
And GPU, the cost is in training. And the cost of training goes up every time because of a very ridiculous phenomenon. And the ridiculous phenomenon is that they have to take the entire body of information and crunch it. Now, so this particular crunch has a date stamp, it's valid as of this particular date stamp. Now, if the subsequent information that comes, it does not attach. So it's not searchable.
Okay.
So you accumulate, and now again, you trash all of this and run it again. That's why GPUs are burning.
So once that changes.
So it's like khichdi,
Yeah.
You want to pakao khichdi? No problem. But if you started the fire and then the new ingredients arrive, you say, sorry, next batch. And next batch, you can't add them to the old khichdi, man.
Yeah, you can't.
You got to make khichdi all over again.
Completely new.
And this time with new.
Wow.
So even if you took only 1 spoon of the old one, you got to make it all over again. And there's enough khichdi to feed a city. And you throw it away and do it again. That is the inefficiency of the GPU LLM process today.
Will that be solved?
It is. Elon Musk is solving it. How? He says, okay, I got this information, which I'll go to answer classically. And by the way, somebody just made a post.
Yeah, on Grok.
Which is in X.
Yes.
So Grok will read that post as a continuous stream of posts in that context and merge those results with these results. Boom. So Grok is
So the
up there.
khichdi need not be wasted.
Yeah. So again, khichdi, he's made series of buffet.
It's almost like an LLM. Grok's creating the small language model within a large language model.
So it's like a buffet of everything that's been posted, and that is live and original content. He has broken through with one simple, the fundamental problem that everybody else faces. The content itself is AI generated, which AI is now reading. No, but in Grok, it's people posting real contents in small little bursts and saying the same thing in various ways
And making inference out of that.
and making an inference out of that.
So there's no plagiarism kind of thing.
Forget plagiarism. Khokhla. AI generated content is Khokhla because it is a derivative. Where's the product? So you're taking product, then you're taking, first derivative, second derivative, third derivative, and then you're assuming that these are all equal to that. You are hallucinating yourself.
Yeah, and believing in your own propaganda.
And believing yourself.
Oh God. Well, it's been a fascinating interview for me, and it's going to change. I mean, because at BCL, we're also advisors, accounting, payroll, compliance. It's going to change the finance industry too, AI. Be ready for it, right? So what's going to happen to this industry?
How much time you got? We just
Yeah, I have one
This
more
is the
question.
winding up.
I've got one more
Is it a
question.
new conversation? I'm walking out the door.
I've got one more question and we can call it a close. I just wanted to ask you about the book side of it and what would you recommend to read now for kids looking at these frontier technologies, or where do they stand? So quick thought on finance as an industry, and then the last question on the books, very important to me. On how do you stay relevant? You stay relevant, that is.
So, finance is fascinating space to go after for one single reason. It's got so much money sloshing around that if you solve a very trivial problem, they're happy to pay you a lot for it because they're making a lot more.
Yeah, the delta again. Yes. Yes.
So you say, I'll make you 100, you give me 10.
Fair ask.
They'll say, show me. You show them, and they are off to the races. So,
that's the true nuanced part. You're always right. Show me how to make money. That's it.
and because finance is the opposite of government.
This has to increase.
Finance is hungry because they want to differentiate, make more money. Government says, I know I'll make so much money, regardless of what I do, even if I do nothing. So that's the preferred
path to Yeah. That's what Trump is cutting down on government. Yeah.
So, I'm happy to wax eloquent on the finance industry space for a single reason. Deregulation is happening.
Yes.
Government wants to continue getting out of the way. So, in finance, you have the trivial part, such as the phone rings and somebody's talking in a robotic voice. That has become the solution because these Bajaj and TVS and all these companies that have money sloshing around, instead of financing only their own vehicles, they say, well, why not finance everybody without building the branch network? So they use telephones. So, and voice, I think, is the ultimate UI, user interface. People talk. What they lack is a user experience.
Yeah, which has been my pet peeve all the time.
So, and the reason is that they take a very trivial cut at the solutions. And it's like, you killed a lion. Or no, you killed some man. I go and cut his hair and say, I killed a lion. Like, really?
Yes.
You missed the point here. So, and that's good enough for many because it enables them to buy the Porsche 911. But now you are making the phone call to the person, and the person picks up the phone call, and suddenly you are, robotic. It's a recording. There's no AI here. It doesn't talk to people. If a guy says, for me, it's the most ridiculous thing for you to call somebody. It is the most obvious thing that when the person calls you, You give them a deluxe experience.
Yeah. I think we haven't got there yet.
Think about it. Because that guy's thinking about me. I'm not interrupting him in the middle of a bath, and whatever. She's called me because I'm on his mind. At this time, should you not maximize that opportunity?
Yeah.
So it's like somebody, you're talking to somebody and you be pleasant. So how are you? So what are you doing about this? So whatever they say, you respond to what they're saying.
Yeah.
You're no longer pushing.
Natural.
Becoming natural,
Yeah.
becoming helpful, becoming a pleasant experience. It's the same phone call,
That's where it's going to change.
but change the UX, please.
Yeah.
And that's AI.
No, that's a great thought. And like you said, I mean, my last question is about you. What have you been reading? How do you keep up to date? I know you talk to a lot of youngsters and keep up to date with what's happening in current technologies. But in terms of having this specialized, not you can sit in any room and have a conversation about any subject. Yeah. So how do you keep yourself motivated? Do you read a lot, or is it just because experience speaks, number one? Or are you reading anything that you recommend us?
It's not what, it's how.
Okay.
So I am a great fan of Audible.
Yeah, lovely platform. Yeah.
And so I listen to books on Audible. And so I'm driving because what it allows me to do is A, drive,
Yeah.
and B is that while they are talking to me, I'm meditating. I'm allowing my mind to space out. If you space out while reading, you won't get far. But they keep moving forward.
I got it.
So it allows you to space out and think. And the third that I do is I am a reactive reader. So I switch off groups in WhatsApp, because if I've read it and I do nothing about it, nothing happened except I wasted that many seconds of my
20
life
seconds. Yeah.
and riled myself up into a fever and then said, no, come. What's the point of,
Multiplying.
what's the point of, exactly, winding up and then not releasing?
something.
You wind up and then you spend that much energy winding down.
Apparently it takes the 20-second thing that you see on WhatsApp or Twitter or whatever, and because you've seen it and you're not reacting, it takes about 3-4 minutes for your mind to regroup.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
And go back to where you were in the first place. That's ultimate noise. So I don't, therefore, WhatsApp is no for me. But by the way, X is where I'm at.
Yeah, sorry, I said Twitter. It's X, guys.
X is where I'm at. For me, X is a beautiful thing because it allows, they follow they give me what I follow, and then I get the context XAI on top. So you touch it and it explains the entire context of what is going on. And fortunately for me, my wife and I think alike, which is so special and so rare. So whatever YouTube we watch or movie or whatever we watch, it has to pass muster. That is got to be. I can't watch slow moving Hindi movies because hurry up, please. And therefore, that my wife is doing that on her own, and I watch all the reachers of the world. But together we watch movies that pass muster for both of us. Takes a lot of work to figure out which one, which shows we watch, and then the other time is, so my morning routine is after I finish yoga, I on the lift down I read my notification and summary, and I think I'm all set for the day. Then come back after yoga, and after I had my morning ablutions, she sits down and reads. I sit down and read, and this goes on till lunch.
That's nice.
Then after lunch, I have to take a nap. But before we take a nap, we convene and we listen to an hour and a half of YouTube. Then I sleep. And in the evening, we wake up and watch a show.
Which is good for the relationship.
No. It keeps me sated, brother. Because the conversation that we have that goes with it, where we're both yelling at the same time and we're both sympathizing at the same time, It's an echo chamber.
That's part of the relationship. It comes with the package.
If you knew what you just said, you'd appreciate yourself a lot more.
Let's give me a 5 for that one. And I'm going to close this. By the way, this has been very heartful. And this is Mr. Hartej Singh. And if you're a young person who enjoyed this conversation, send us the questions. We'll get him to answer all those things about AI. And if you're building something, let us know. We're going to get in touch with you. And you guys should meet. And obviously, the big deals happen when you really learn to build something, okay? So be a builder, not a developer, right? And by the way, don't be in real estate or take money from people who've been mollycoddled. That's the advice, isn't it?
You need smart money. And smart money is the kind of money that listens to you and doesn't talk about money.
Fantastic. And let me know what you think of the final statement. Thank you, guys.